So one of the biggest stories right now in the news is Trump's meeting with Kim Jong-un in the DMZ, and he set up the meeting via Twitter, which people are laughing at, and it's sort of a big joke. But it's Trump; it's what he does, and he's trying to bring, I guess, a more personal touch to his relationship with Kim. Some people are making light of that. Some people are praising him for it. Predictably, it's pretty predictable what people are going to say about it based on what their political affiliation is. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really a fan of Trump. I fault him for a lot, especially in the realm of dealing with other countries. But I don't see this as a bad play at all. I think that this is actually a pretty good move. And people are criticizing it from the left, particularly because they say, well, he hasn't actually got anything done. He hasn't actually got them to scale down their nuclear program at all. And so we're still in the same danger. But that's ignoring the fact that no president has ever gotten them to scale down their nuclear program. It's basically at the center of their entire geopolitical and national security policy. Is they want to have a robust nuclear system because they see that as the best way to ensure that they won't be invaded and toppled by the United States. And they're right about that. It's the same reason why Iran wants nuclear weapons. It's the same reason why Saddam Hussein was pretending like he had WMDs when he didn't, because they see these having these weapons as a measure of security. Strangely enough, so we like to talk about them like they're just maniacs who are looking to blow up the world. But the truth is there's a logic to what they're doing. I'm not saying that the regime is not batshit crazy when it comes to their ideology and when it comes to what they push on their own citizens, the propaganda about the regime and about Kim and all of that. But they do have a tendency towards self-preservation. And so we have to wrestle with the possibility that there's a distinct possibility that there's nothing we're going to be able to do to actually stop them from getting nuclear weapons, or not, they have nuclear weapons, but actually getting, advancing their nuclear program to the point where they have a robust enough nuclear program to be able to launch an ICBM across the Pacific and hit the United States. We might not be able to stop them from getting there. There might not be anything that we can do to stop them from getting there other than invading their country and toppling their regime, which we're not willing to do because the aftermath, the collateral damage that will be caused by that is going to be so catastrophic. It'll make Iraq look like nothing. It'll make Iraq look like a picnic compared to the carnage that North Korea would unleash on some of our allies there in Asia. So I think we all intuitively realize that, so we don't even consider going to war with North Korea. So people who are saying, well, we need to be tough with them and get them to stop the nuclear program, I just have to ask, at what point do you invoke Einstein's rule of trying the same thing and expecting different results is a stupid thing to do? I mean, we've been trying to deter them from expanding their nuclear capabilities for decades, and it's never worked. Neither flattering them and trying to cozy up to them stops them, nor sanctioning them and trying to be strict with them stops them. But sanctioning them and antagonizing them basically escalates the tensions with them, which escalates the possibility of an actual conflict, because the more that we're their antagonist and their enemy, the more that they rely on the propaganda narrative that America is, the great evil empire, and they're the brave resistance. And this is like the heart and soul of the North Korean self-image, the image that they portray themselves as to their civilians, and the image that the North Koreans believe. So I think that actually a photo op is a pretty significant thing. I know that we just look at it like it's all just a big show, which it is, but this is a country where 90% of the stuff they do is a big show. And so I have to imagine that this is actually not the worst strategy I can think of. At least if we can't stop them from developing nuclear weapons, at least being on good terms with them seems like a good thing to me. I mean, keep in mind, there was a time when we were worried about the Russians developing the capability to deploy nuclear weapons to hit the United States. And we didn't trust them not to do it either. But we weren't able to stop them from developing that capability. And we went through decades of a Cold War where we had some close calls, but all in all, we ended up avoiding an actual nuclear conflict, and we used nuclear weapons basically as a deterrence and not as an actual weapon. The only time it's ever been used is in World War II. Ever since then, it's been used as a bargaining chip, as a form of deterrence. It's easy to preach non-proliferation and to talk about the evils of nuclear weapons, but pragmatically it doesn't seem that there's a real strategy to get rid of them. And because the engineering to developing them is there, and so how are you going to prevent people from developing them if they have a incentive to do so? So I don't know, man. I honestly feel like it makes us uncomfortable to think about countries like North Korea and Iran having nuclear weapons, but it makes me more uncomfortable to think about the prospect of us going to war with either one of these countries. And so this is where I would criticize Trump, is that he's playing nice with one of the members of the axis of evil, and then he's antagonizing the other one. And I know that Iran isn't as far along in their nuclear capabilities. They don't have the bomb yet, but there's nothing stopping them from continuing down that path. There's nothing to incentivize them not to. So I would say that he should take the same approach that he's taking with North Korea right now with Iran as well, and stop escalating that future potential conflict, because they're both scary. North Korea is a worse scenario, but neither one is going to be worth it in the long run. And so this is where I almost feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone, because like liberals and conservatives like just so predictably change their stance on things depending on who's doing it. So like, because the thing that made me think about this is somebody posted in one of the message boards that I frequent. They said, it was a Trump supporter, and they said, if Obama was doing this, you'd be worshiping him for it, to a leftist. And frankly, that's probably true. The left would probably defend Obama if he was doing this the same way that they defended him when he entered into the nuclear deal with Iran. I know you could say that the nuclear deal actually accomplished more, but we have more leverage with Iran. But when Obama was trying to do diplomacy, the right was calling him weak, and the left was applauding the diplomacy. And now when Trump's trying to do diplomacy, the left is calling him weak, and the right is applauding the diplomacy. It's nobody has any fucking principles in this country when it really comes down to it. When it comes to foreign policy, it's like we're just cheerleaders for two different teams. It's mind-boggling. But yeah, those are my basic thoughts. We don't want a war with Little Rocket Man, because it wouldn't be good. And unless if you have a serious alternative, like a serious way that you propose could prevent them from getting nuclear weapons, I'd love to hear what that is, because I think they've tried just about anything that we conventionally put on the table besides war. Yeah, unless you have an actual plan to stop them from getting the nuclear weapons, that's not the metric of success here, because it doesn't seem like we're going to stop them. So the metric of success is preventing that from turning into an actual conflict. Okay, nuclear weapons that are unused are still better than nuclear weapons that get used.